Hello guys, in the last video I have explained Lambda function and its key features. In this video we will see how to create Python based Lambda function. As you can see, my AWS dashboard is open, and in recently visited you can see Lambda option. You can click this option to open the Lambda function. If it is your first time to open AWS dashboard, then you can click services option on dashboard, which is there at top left corner. Once you click this option, it will open a form to create Lambda function. So it will open an option, a dashboard to create Lambda function. So here you can see that there are three Lambda functions already listed with some runtimes that are backend for executing this Lambda function. Once you click create function button on right upper corner, it will open one form to create a new Lambda function. Now you can see that there are few options available here to configure your newly created Lambda function. The first option is to create, like, how we can create Lambda function. So there are three options to create Lambda function: author from scratch, use a blueprint, container image. Then there is a basic information section where we can put function name, and there is one criteria mentioned here for function name. Then next is one drop down where we can choose runtime environment for executing the Lambda function. So let's say I want Python 3.4, so 3.9. So I will click Python 3.9. Then after we can select the architecture of execution, that is the hardware architecture that will be used to execute this function. And in the backend, there are two supported architectures. First one is x86_64 and second one is ARM64. So let's continue with the default one, that is x86-64. For now, we can skip permissions and role because we can continue with this default values. Still, we can have working Lambda function, and also we can skip the additional configuration section. So we can click create function button, and once we click that, oh sorry, I miss function name. So let's put some function name here, test one. And then once we click create function button, it will take some time to launch the function. You can see that the function is successfully created, and even there is one node who represent the function in function overview section. There are two important concepts that are required to be configured for actual production of deployment of Lambda function. First one is trigger and second one is destination. For now, we can skip these two sections. We can scroll down a little bit to check what is there. So you can see that there is one IDE, online IDE, that is integrated development environment, for modifying the code, and it looks similar to Visual Studio Code. On left hand side, there is an Explorer section where you can see that there is one Python function. Its name is lambda_function.py. And here in this Lambda function Python file, there is one already defined function called as Lambda handler. It is the entry point for execution of Lambda function. It is similar to main function of other programming languages. As you guys know, for C language, Python, Java, C++, if you want to start execution, you need to define some main function. Similarly, in case of Lambda functions, that is AWS Lambda function, to start execution of logic, you need to put that logic inside Lambda handler function. We can write down multi-file code also, but we should mention lambda underscore handler function. It's compulsory. It is the entry point for your lambda function. Here only AWS will start executing the code of your lambda function. Then there are two more important concepts. First one is deploy section and test event section. And inside deploy section, you can see that there is a deploy function, deploy button, and test button. If you modify the code little bit, you need to deploy the code again. Then only this lambda function can be like the changes in the lambda function can be reflected. Without pressing deploy button, whatever changes you are going to make in the lambda function will not be there in the production. So every time you change the lambda function, irrespective of how small the change is, you need to press deploy button. Then only that lambda function will go in production. So in the next lecture, we will see how to test this function, because we cannot execute this function directly as we can do in other programming languages. Here we need to use test section or test concept for executing this function and to test it. Okay. Thanks a lot.